it's hard to put in perspective what things mean to you until they're gone. I had a good junior career and I had a good first couple of years in my NBL career, but the consistency was where the issue was. To me, I know it's not a gamble on myself, and from what I've been through and where I'm headed, the sky's the limit for me, I think. And I think just having perspective and seeing the big picture of stuff's been big, and yeah, I'm just excited and happy to be back and playing.
Welcome back to another episode of The Huddle. It may be the off-season, but there's plenty to talk about and plenty of people to talk to. And I'm excited for this one because I've waited some time to catch up with an old friend, but someone who everyone is so excited to see back on a basketball court. We'll talk about everything that's gone on the past few years and right back to when the career began, because there's exciting things ahead. Harry Froling joining me on The Huddle. Frols, good to see you, mate.
Yeah, good to be back. Good to be back in NBL talks again. So that's exciting, and yeah, obviously had a lot to do with you. So finally, good to be chatting to you again.
Mate, I'm looking forward to this because, again, obviously you've been in the news, you've been around for especially the last 2 years. But as we land right now, you're playing in the NZ and you're playing for the Taranaki Airs. You being back on a basketball court, everything that's gone on. How are you feeling right now?
Yeah, real good. I mean, it's a funny thing. Like, obviously, we'll get into it more, but throughout my career, I was always so up and down. You know, I'd have games where I have 20 plus and games where I have 5 points. And I guess the way I lived my life and looked after my body and all that translated to the basketball court. You know, it was sporadic. It was, you know, sort of in and out and inconsistent. And I'm sort of just loving it now. Like, I've got routine in my life. I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'm comfortable doing what I do. I like my own personal space. I don't really seek validation from people like I used to. And, you know, I'm just happy to be playing, and I know everything will just fall into place as it will. And yeah, it's nice to not have that sort of burden and stress that I used to always live with and stress about.
It's awesome to hear that. And again, it'll be awesome to hear you break down how you got to that moment and everything that you've learned. But that first game in particular, it was a dominating performance, which was fun to watch. It was right before your brother was obviously going to be playing a game for Illawarra, because I was there with Sam and he was talking about where everybody was talking about it. What were the emotions like for you before that game?
Yeah, it was a weird one, right? Like, obviously it's a long time out, and like, originally I was planning to play NBL 1, which started in May, and this opportunity popped up where it probably was better for me to be in front of people before free agency starts versus waiting till May for NBL 1 North. And logistically, that's how it worked out. But it was emotional, of course. Like, I didn't really know how it would be or how to handle it. And honestly, I thought I'd come out and have 5 points and 3 rebounds and a donut. But you know, it was just good, and you know, it was emotional, as I sort of said. But just to be playing again, and I was struggling the first half. I think I only had 6 points at half time. Like, I wasn't playing great, and then finished with the 32 and came good, got that second win. But it was nice to sort of see the last few years, the results and what I've been doing and what people have been doing for me sort of pay off. And I guess that's just reassured me with going forward. Like, if that's the start and that's game 1, you know, I'm due to have a bad game. There's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be things that go wrong throughout this season, I'm sure. I'm not going to play perfect and have a double-double every game. But I think just where I am now, it's been really good. And yeah, I just love it. Love playing and love hooping.
We love to see it, and again, it's just the start of something special now in this comeback story. But we're all aware now, and Sam told me, but the Froling group chat, it's a real thing, and it understandably is with the Froling family and how competitive you all are and the success you've all had, not just as your siblings, but obviously your parents as well. What was that like to get back and read after the game with everything you'd been through?
Oh, yeah, it was good. Like, obviously everyone was praising me a bit and pumping you up. And then by the next game, it was, you know, Dad was saying, stop talking to the refs, stop this, stop that, and, you know, back to his old ways. So it was cool. Like, my family's been really good for me and supported me. And obviously I've spoken about that a fair bit. But yeah, it's competitive, it's fun, and we all love each other and support each other. And then we all talk a bit of smack and, you know, blow smoke up each other's ass a bit when we need to. And yeah, it's good fun.
there's a reason why everyone loves the Froling family in Australian basketball. And again, we're going to continue to see you all for a very long time. But you've been open now about the goal. Like, you want to be back on an NBL roster, and you're playing like an NBL player right now in the NZNBL. At what point in this comeback journey, when you had to go through everything, all the recovery stage, did it click with you? Hang on, like, this is not just something I want to do, but this is something I know I can do.
Yeah, I think it was sort of when I got to Wollongong. Like, and it's funny when you go through something like what I've been through, or like something Dan Greed has been through, who been really close with, and he's one of my best mates. Like Sam's gone through now. Like, it's funny the perspective you get on things, and how your mindset changes, and all that sort of thing. And I think when I was sort of like, all right, like I'm properly doing this, was, I think, Dave Hickey was big. He said something about, JT was happy with me at training, and like said he liked me. And then I was like, oh, that's kind of nice of, the Hawks coach to think I'm a good player. And then I said something else to Sam at practice, like, oh, I think I trained all right today. He's like, yeah, you were good. And I'm like, yeah, it was weird. He's like, yeah, you forget you're a very good basketball player, Harry. And I was sort of like, you know what, like, old Harry would have been, I'm the best player in the gym, come in, step on toes, rub people the wrong way and all that. And I sort of started to lose that confidence a bit. And I've got it back now. And I think with my mentality and just hearing the reassurance from people, like, mate, you're a good basketball player. Like, you keep doing what you're doing, and all that. And that's sort of when it sort of clicked for me. And I was like, you know what, like, you're right. Like, I am a good basketball player. And that belief started to come back in myself. And obviously then this opportunity popped up, and it was all guns blazing. And as I said, still a work in progress, but I've been pretty happy with how we've started the season.
As you should be. And again, just to hear all those stories, and we'll talk a little bit about moving down to the Hawks and everything that you learned going through there, and obviously with your brother. And Dan Greed is a perfect example as well. But the whole last couple of years in a snapshot, and without getting into it too much, because I know that it would still be such a touchy subject to talk about because of the sickening attack that it was. But for those who perhaps aren't familiar with the depth of the story, what exactly happened after? What was the medical side of things that you had to try and rehab, try and recover from?
Yeah, so I had a epidural hematoma, I think it's called. So it's a bleed between the inside of your skull and your brain. And obviously I had a big one. I can't remember the exact mils, but there's screenshots of it and all that. That's online. And obviously all my brain was squished to one side, and I jumped on a plane afterwards. There was a lot of negligence that went on throughout, the hospital and the club I was playing with at the time. And, I've moved past all that, so I'm not going to get into all that. But, yeah, in fact, I got on a plane and flew home nearly 12 hours after getting punched and having that brain bleed. The neurosurgeons were pretty shocked that I was alive. They said usually it just, the pressure from a plane will cut off the blood flow to your head, and you just, it's not like a seizure or anything. It's just out, lights out. And it's a miracle that I wasn't getting carried off the plane by bullet staff. So, it was a long recovery. I was obviously the concussion symptoms and all that times 1,000, as you know, if you've had concussions, and just feeling off, like obviously your brain chemistry is all messed up too. So I went into a spiral of, self-doubt and, depression and all that sort of thing, and got into a pretty dark place. And, you can sometimes never recover from all that. And luckily I had a support system. I'm grateful I had a good support system around me and all that helped me through the tough times. And it's a lot. It's a lot to go through, and it's not like a knee or Achilles or an injury where, hey, here's your timeline. It's usually 6 to 9 months or 9 to 12 months. It's like, hey, one, you're lucky to be alive. Two, to live a normal life, you might never work again. Like, not even basketball, you might never be able to work a proper job again if you can't focus for longer than half an hour. If you get headaches reading stuff, So it was a long process to go through, but I think I've come out the other side of it as a better person. And I guess that's another thing, perspective, and, making positive of a shit situation. And, I'd never wish it on anyone what I've been through, but coming out the other side now, I'm like, yeah, there's going to be hiccups in my return and in my career and whatever, but what really out of my control, what can happen to me that's worse than what's already happened? besides obviously touch wood, not dying, but like there's not, so I sort of find solace in that. And yeah, it's just helped me with a lot of perspective on life and all that sort of thing.
It's crazy to hear the way you talk about all the details of it, because when all the reports were starting to come out, and people talk about you getting on the plane and all of that, but was there a certain moment when you realized the exact, like, this is a life or death situation? Like, this could have been it, because you talk about the perspective and just to hear the way that you've now come through the other side. Like, it is unbelievable. One, that even occurred, but two, when you get to sit back and realize, wow, this could have all been taken away from me.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that was sort of what I struggled with a lot of the time too, was online. I was just copping so much,
Mm.
victim blaming and all that sort of thing. And I wasn't allowed to say anything because one, I didn't know, I don't remember anything from midnight until Wednesday. So 4 days, I don't remember. So I don't remember going to Wollongong Hospital. I don't remember getting back to my hotel. I don't remember checking myself out of Wollongong Hospital. I couldn't even tell you what Wollongong Hospital looks like. And I was in there for 5 hours apparently on a IV drip because someone lied to the police and told them I fell over drunk. So the report was I was a drunk and they put me on an IV drip and didn't brain scan me. So obviously when you've got alcohol in your system and you've got a brain bleed, you're probably not going to be thinking straight. And I was just, the lights were on, but I wasn't home. Like I've obviously gone, oh, the bus leaves at 7:30 a.m. And as you would know,
Mm.
if you miss the team bus, you
Yeah.
get a fine and you get, so I would have been what I assume happened is I've got to make the bus and hopped up and walked out of hospital. I still had the drip in my arm. I still had the thing on my hand. Like, so there was a whole thing with all that. And just to come out the other side of it is like a crazy experience. And when you look back on it, like, I guess, as I said, it helps with me with perspective because, you know, people have to learn to talk again, walk again
Mm.
with the exact same injury, even less than what I've had before. And it definitely puts perspective on things and what you put your energy into and what you read online. And, it helps just move past things and look at the bigger picture of life.
You talk about learning to walk again, and again, there are things online. There's videos of you now in recovery and doing all that. Do you go back and look at any of that at these moments to see I've come this far, or are you trying to move completely past all of that, or do you accept, look, this is part of my history now, and this is what helped me get to this comeback trail. That's who I am, and that's what I'm always going to be.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've done a fair bit on it, and because I was sort of muzzled for the 12 months
Mm.
of with all the court case going on, and the Crown and the police asked me to do the right thing and not influence the public and not have my say. And even though I was copping a lot,
Yeah.
a lot online and some of the messages and stuff, like I think two of the guys actually got charged a couple of weeks ago in Wollongong for some of the stuff they were doing. But yeah, I think it's just the perspective of things and moving forward with my life. Like it's not, this is, I guess, a break in my career. I see it as I've had an injury. Yeah, it's not ideal, but I still think my best. I'm 26 years old. I still think my best basketball's ahead of me. And with the mindset I'm in now, it'll be a cool thing to look back on and say like, yeah, I got through that. But I'm sure everyone's going to be sick of hearing about the head injury and the sympathy. And I can only soak up sympathy that much. So it's just exciting to be back playing and the basketball community getting around me and just being back in this space. Like it's as probably when you retire and all that. I think Casey Frank said it well in our interview we had. Like it's hard to put in perspective what things mean to you until they're gone.
Mm.
And I think I've sort of had that now, which ideally is not what you want. And I'm sure, as I said, Greeter had that with his injuries and Glover and that sort of thing, like those guys that have those constant injuries. And it just makes you appreciate it more. Like I was so stoked for Greeter getting his contract. He just got extended for 2 more years.
Mm.
And to know what he's been through and just the reassurance that gives him of, hey, like everything I've been through, I'm still here, still kicking, still winning championships and doing all that. And it's just a cool thing to look back on. And I don't think you're defined by your lowest points, but I definitely think it's part of the story. And yeah.
I love that, not defined by your lowest points, because as you said, 26 years old, there's an exciting career still to be written on the basketball court. But the basketball court before the incident, before everything was going down, we're talking a rookie of the year. We're talking about a journey. We're talking about everything that we've seen. We've seen Harry Froling on the court, and you said at the very start of our chat that old Harry would have been thinking differently, acting a little bit differently right now as the basketball player. When you look back on now from that early part, the early taste of NBL, one, I think, what are you most proud of about the way you began everything as a professional? And two, what did you learn about that moment?
Yeah, well, I think obviously I sort of came out the gates blazing,
Mm.
and rookie year, obviously that was my second year in Adelaide, was a bit of a disaster. Just in general, like I just rode the highs and I rode the lows so much as as a young 20-year-old, 21-year-old, whatever I was. And I never like I had good veterans and people I'm really close with, but I never really had that vet as a young guy that was like, like come under my wing. Here's what you do. Sam had Dave Anderson, like one of those guys where you're just like, hey, this is what you do. This is how you
Mm.
handle yourself. This is this. And I was sort of just, figuring it out on the fly, and had bad habits and just, didn't look after myself. And to see, I guess, the fact that I'd had the career I'd had, living the way I lived, I guess in a sense, I'm proud of that myself, because obviously I was talented enough to keep getting gigs and be around it, and that was eventually going to fizzle out. And but yeah, it was just I had a good junior career and I had a good first couple of years of my NBL career, but the consistency was where the issue was. And yeah, I was still proud of the fact that I've been in the NBL for 5, 6 years or whatever it's been, and played over 150 games, and still only 26. Like, not a lot of people can say they've played that many games, or especially with DNPs not counting, which I think I've got an issue with. But anyway, we'll touch on that later.
The beginning of a professional journey, when you come out as the junior success that you had, and you talked about trying to find the consistency and the importance of, I guess, having that veteran professional role model on the team, I guess, to learn from. Does it, looking back on it now, does it not so much shock you is probably not the right word, but do you think a lot of people don't quite understand, fans I'm talking about, understand that the jump from juniors to like the NBL to professionals, if you don't have that kind of influence around, you can get lost in the moment of, hey, I'm a professional athlete, man. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's just the learning curve of, like, it's a massive jump, and then if you can make that jump and be good handling it all, having yes
Mm.
men around you, or having people, if you get caught up and you don't know how to ride the highs and ride the lows and be consistent and stay level headed and just put in the work and look after yourself, look after your body, the off court translates to the on court. And I think that's a big thing. It's probably what you see with the young guys that do well in this league and consistently are getting better every season. Usually they're the ones that are consistent off the court and
Mm.
handling the things they need to, and figuring out how to be a pro, because obviously it's a process to become a pro, right? Like, you don't just slot in, and very few are just, perfect from day one. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing to look at, and you can sort of see around the league, and guys that have that bad rap or have a good rap, or the ones that are just workhorses, and you see them slowly build and go on and become great players. I think Tyrell's one of them.
Yep.
Like, look at him; he was always that guy that, yeah, he had injuries and had issues, and I'm sure if we went back online, you'd see back in the day Bullets fans and hating on him and saying, why is he here? Why do we keep? But he's a guy that just kept working, looking after his body, getting healthy, and now he's healthy and he's killing it, and he's one of the best centers in the league. So Sam's obviously another one, and yeah, it's cool to see that, and yeah, I think it's still got a good opportunity for me to go through all that, and I think I'm doing that.
It's again the point that to highlight here is the fact that you are 26 and have been through all of this as a pro. Obviously, the life side of things is different, but as a pro, to understand that and to not so much have, when you go in there, the idea of, I don't want to get down that, I don't want to even bother to understand what it feels like to feel those lows, because now I feel like you're at a position where, you know what, I've been there. I know exactly the things that I shouldn't be doing. I know the things that I need to be doing. And I'm 26. I've got potentially 12 years left to play professional basketball with the full realization of what I need to do and what I can achieve if my mind's right, which clearly it looks like it is right now.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's, as I said, like, I don't regret the way I lived
Hmm.
and all that. Like, I've met a lot of good people, and I've definitely rubbed some people the wrong way through the things, but I think it's just made me the person I am today. And as bad as what's happened to me was, and situation I was in, and all that, like, ultimately my lifestyle led to that. Yeah, it was a coward and a dog act, and could have been easily preventable. But if I wasn't bouncing around the NBL signing 1 year deals. No one really locking me in long term. Maybe I don't end up on a night out in Wollongong that day. Maybe the schedule's different. Maybe there's a lot of what ifs, and it sort of trickles all the way back to when I was inconsistent, not looking after my body, not being a great teammate, all that sort of thing. And I think you look at it big picture, and everything in my life has led me to where I am today. And um, I guess that's the thing with coming back. It's still to teams, and obviously they can see me in the NZNBL, and it's a good league. And to me, it's not a gamble on me. I know what I can do, and I know my mindset and how I am. But there's still going to be doubt and a gamble to an extent for some teams, and I'm fine with that. Like I don't expect them to come in thinking I'm going to come out and be all NBL first team and all that. And to me, I know it's not a gamble on myself, and from what I've been through and where I'm headed, the sky's the limit for me, I think. So, it's just exciting.
Well said, mate. I love to hear all that, and I think a lot of fans will as we continue to follow this journey. Touching on arriving back to Wollongong and where the basketball side of it restarted after the incident, after the rehab, recovery, all of that. Being there, Greta, your brother, obviously, what was that like, and what did that do to help shape you as to where you are now? Because I've been talking to Sam about it, I was talking to Greta about it when we were in Wollongong, and they speak so highly of what you managed to achieve as an athlete, as a professional, in that short amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think in my interview with Casey Frank, like you pretty quickly forgotten. And obviously your junior career, like played in the Hoop Summit, did the NBA Global Camp, got MVP of that, had a good rookie year, still played a lot of NBL games, and then you sort of forgotten pretty quick. And I think that's why the reassuring of getting down to Wollongong, and I did have doubt in myself and all that, and the boys reassuring me and saying, "Hey, mate, like look what you've done in your career. Like you've had a pretty good career. A lot of people would retire and
Yeah.
be happy with the amount of games you've had and the experiences you've had and traveled the world, represented Aussie junior teams and AIS and all that sort of thing." And I think that helped me put it in perspective of like, you know what, like I have done well for myself and I have had a good career. And with the potential I have now and the mindset I have and how I look after myself, the sky's the limit. And just being around those boys down there, the way they handle themselves, like, and don't get me wrong, as you know, like boys still love to have a good time, hang out on weekends, have a beer, have a barbecue, all that sort of thing. But just, having it in doses and handling what you need to handle, and then, being there for each other and hanging out and still having a good time and enjoying life, because, you got to enjoy life off the court, or else it's going to be very difficult when you retire or when something happens to you and all that sort of thing. So you still got to have that balance. And obviously I didn't have that balance pre-injury, and now I definitely do. So I think just that's been great to be around them and how they carry themselves.
Balance is the key word. We hear it a whole lot around basketball, around professional sports in general, and it's great to hear where that balance is now. Does that balance now involve, and we've seen a new hobby of yours, if the people that follow you on social media, you're a big fisherman and you like to bring some people out on the boat and fish. Where did that start? Has that always been something you like to do to get away from hoops, to have that balance of, okay, I'm in a season, I'm doing whatever, I need to kind of switch off, and this is a great way I can switch off?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that probably started back. We've always had a beach house up in the Whitsundays. Grandma, shout out to Grandma, always lets me up and leave the boat at her place. And we've always had the beach house. And we used to go as kids, grew up around the Whitsundays, obviously Townsville, and it'd be a 3-hour drive. So every school holidays we're down there and fishing, swimming in the little tinny, begging Dad to take us out for a fish and all that. And, I guess we all got into basketball and sports and everyone started moving around. And I always was always drawn to the fishing, and I used to go through Dad's old gear in the shed that was all perished, and spear guns and all that were just dodgy. And, since I think I got my first crayfish when I was 13. So just that's when it sort of all started. And I sort of kept building on it, and every year I met people that enjoyed it more. And it's like sports. There's a whole different world of fishing and spearfishing and boating. And I think it was good for me when I was out, and when I wasn't able to be on court, being 160 kilos with struggling to get up and down and do trainings and all that. It was good for me to get out on weekends and go spearfishing with mates. And We had a few overnight camp trips, me, Lukey Yates, Emmett Nah, and that was really cool out at the reef and out at the islands off the reef. So it was just a cool experience and to show those boys sort of what I do off the court. And yeah, it's just such a fun thing to do. And you're swimming around. It's good for me as well. Like I'd I'd be up at I'm not a morning person, but I'd be up at 3:30 a.m. getting the boat ready. Boat would be in the water by 4:30 a.m. I'd be nagging Emmett and that, like, come on, let's go, like, get up, we're going, be out of the reef, take 2 hours to get out to the reef, spearfish from 7 a.m. till 2 p.m. So you're swimming around for, you got flippers on, obviously, but you're
Mm.
swimming around for a good 7, 8 hours. And then by the time you come home, you're absolutely knackered. There's no, let's have a quick feed and go to bed usually. So it was really good for me in that sense as well of like slowly chipping away and getting fit. And yeah, it's just something I love to do, and I love taking the boys out. And been talking to Dino a little bit and trying to get Dino up to the reef. I think he's heading up to it Sundays in the off season, so I'm trying to set him up with a few mates. And yeah, it's a cool thing to do.
It's unique, man. I like it, and I'm hoping that we get more opportunities to do that. If we get a blitz up Townsville way, even get a new Townsville team back, I think I'd love to see the Crocs back. You need to take me out. I do want to chat a little bit here because you mentioned the injury, obviously, to your brother and the Achilles injury. And I spoke to you pretty instantly after that all happened. But there is this obviously very special connection, understandably so, within the Froling family. When you've had him to rely on and he's been there throughout your journey the last couple of years, and now it's your turn to kind of help him through whatever he needs. What do you feel about that? Not so much pressure, but what does it mean to you? Like, okay, this is my chance now. My brother was there for me. I'm going to be there for him.
Yeah, I think that's it, right? Like, obviously, they're different circumstances. Like,
Mm.
I think Sam will still be on a pretty decent wicket. He'll still have money coming in. He'll be, in an environment where he's going to have rehab. He's going to have, wherever that is. If it's Wollongong and he's there for another 12 months or whatever it is, and he's going to be in that environment. And he's a tough bugger, Sammy boy. So he's had a really good run. Like, obviously, I've had my injury. Keely and Alicia have had injuries that have had him out for 12 months.
Mm.
Sam's had a pretty good run. He's pretty durable. So that's the life of sports, and it catches everyone eventually. And I guess it's how you respond to it. But I'm sure he'll have his dark days, and he'll have his days where he's a bit down. But he's always been very religious with how he handles his body, what he puts into it. He said he's going to get a massive chest for the next 12 months, he reckons. So, yeah, work on his shot too. So I think he was going to have this off season off, which also helps.
Mm.
That was the original plan. So he was going to have a break. He's been back to back playing off season leagues, NBL. So I guess that mindset of, all right, you're already going to be out for 6 months anyway because you weren't going to be playing. Just add a couple more months under that, and you'll be back raring to go. So I think he's in a pretty good way. And obviously, yeah, he was huge for me, and I was in a pretty bad place as we have sort of touched on. And we all just support each other, love each other. I think he's going to try to come out to Taranaki, probably come out and visit out here at some point. And yeah, it's just be there for each other and talk a bit of smack and just treat each other how we normally would. But yeah, we've always got each other's backs, and he's been huge for me. So
Being in New Zealand right now, and again, we talked about the goal is to get on an NBL roster, and you're playing like an NBL player. 26 years old, the way you're going in Taranaki, what's the day-to-day stuff like? And how much, I guess, do you balance, different kind of balance of, hey, like, I'm here to do business, but two, not to put too much pressure on yourself to say, like, I know that we're seeing it now, I'm saying it, that you're good enough to be on an NBL roster, but as you also said, everything's going to happen when the time is ready for it to happen. I've just got to put one foot forward in front of the other each day.
yeah, well, I'm pretty much just focused on here. Like, my day to day's pretty simple here. Not to knock New Plymouth, but there's not a whole lot going on. I've been trying to tee up a bit of fishing.
I'll back that up. Lots of going.
I've been trying to tee up a bit of fishing. There's a few Kiwis that get into it, and YouTubers and all that. So I'll try to do some of that. But honestly, my day to day is pretty much work out in the morning, come back, jump on the video games with the boys and the Arvos. I've been reading a lot lately, which I think's been good for me. I never used to be a big book reader, and I think that's been good doing that. And I enjoy, I guess, the last 2 years and doing a lot of my fishing and spearfishing. I've just sort of learned to love the ocean, love nature. So sounds a bit cliche, but I sort of spend my days off, or trying to get away and go camp or go do something outdoors, and it's been really good. I know me and Luca and Greta have been chatting, and they're obviously in Hawke's Bay. They'll be over there this week, I think, and there's a little fever break or something. I think early May. We got a few days off, so we're going to go somewhere rural and see New Zealand and just do things like that. So it's been good, and I think it's good slow pace lifestyle for me. And yeah, I'm enjoying my time. It's beautiful out here.
Now, before I let you go, again, everybody's going to be excited for this journey. I'm watching it very closely. I can't wait for you to land on an NBL roster very soon. But throughout the last 2 years, is there any sort of motto, is there any quote that you've been living by, or something that you have to think about again to kind of click things into gear whenever you need it?
Yeah, I wouldn't say living by, but just perspective on things. As I sort of said, I've been reading a lot of books lately, and the subtle art of not giving it's been one of them. And sorry for the language, but I think it's just helped me with perspective. And I used to get so concerned of what I put my energy into, and I'd read every comment online, I'd read all this other stuff and what people think of me, and my whole sort of self-worth was valued on what others thought of me. And yeah, I guess it's sort of like we don't always control what happens to us, but we can always control how we interpret what happens to us. So I think that's relevant to me, and that sort of stuck with me in that book, because it's like, all right, what's happened to me sucks, and I couldn't control what the action that happened led me to be where I am, but how I interpret it can be. And as I sort of touched on earlier with, maybe if I wasn't living life in the fast lane, maybe if I wasn't bouncing around on 1-year deals everywhere, maybe, if I looked after my body more, if I was a better teammate, and I think I've always been liked and all that, but just how I talk to people, how I carry myself, if I did handle all that differently, maybe my circumstances would be different. And I think just having perspective and seeing the big picture of stuff's been big. And yeah, I'm just excited and happy to be back and playing.
Love it, mate. We love it. I think everybody can take a little bit out of that. So appreciate you catching up, big fella, and good luck the rest of the season. And hey, we'll hopefully see you very soon.
Stay tuned.